Hello, boys and girls. Thanks for joining me in learning how to create our winter night sky. I'm going to put up a few of the materials that you'll need to do this part of the project. Okay. This over here is, this is my disinfectant spray, but you really need something like the bottom of a cup or something that's a circle that you can trace for the moon of your night sky. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to need, and if you watch this video, you will find out how to blend these colors together so that we can get a beautiful night sky. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is whatever you have for a circle, okay, we are going to use that to make our moon. Okay, you can put your moon anywhere that you want on your paper, but kind of a good idea is you want your moon to be on the top half of your paper. So this might help. You could fold your paper in half. Okay, you could fold your paper in half and then open it up. And that way when you make your moon should be on the top half of your paper, not the bottom half, okay? So somewhere on the top half. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my moon, I think I'm just gonna put them over here. You can put your moon wherever you like. And then, whoops, maybe you can't see that. I'm going to just trace lightly with a pencil around the outside of where my moon's going to be. Okay? And I made a little mistake there, and it doesn't really matter because you can always erase it. Okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't really need to see this circle at all either, so it needs to be very, very light. Okay? So there's your moon. But then what we're going to do is we are going to kind of, like, if we look at the moon, like maybe this is the letter C right here on this side, and then this one's a backwards C. So what we have to imagine is we're going to take this C on this side, and we're just going to move out this way, and we're going to make another C that is just like it, lightly, only a little bit further away and a little bit bigger, and just go down to that fold in the middle of the paper. Okay? And I'm purposely drawing very light, and I think you can see it okay, but I'm purposely drawing very, very light. Now let's make another C, but let's see how this is a little bit of space. Let's leave more space when we do another letter C. Okay? And then the same thing on the other side. So your first letter C should be about this distance away, same distance on the other side, but it's a backward C, right? Because we're going on this side. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Nature is beautiful just the way it is. Sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it's not. And that's okay. So that's a start, okay? And we want these lines to be very, very, very light. So we're going to gently, we are going to erase so you can just barely see where they are. You don't even want to barely see where these lines are, okay? So light. Okay, and then when you are erasing as well, you don't want to erase too heavy because that just leaves all these nasty marks on there. Okay. All right, so very, very light. I know on mine you can barely see it, and that's kind of on purpose, but you should be doing the same thing at home. Okay, so we have that. Now, if we know that our moon is in the middle, what we're going to do is you're going to choose some colors. You can do one color, two color, three colors, doesn't matter for your night sky. What I did is I chose to do, actually I think these two blues are pretty much the same in color. They're different name, but one's just a little bit lighter. So I chose a lightest blue, then a little bit darker blue, then a purple. You could do all just one color. It's fine either way. Okay, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to start with my lightest color, and where my moon was on that letter C right here, I'm going to ever so lightly trace where that C was, just that half of the moon. You can barely see it, and that's good. Okay, Now I'm going to do a couple lines in the shape of that C, very lightly moving out from the moon. Now, when I start to get out from the moon towards my other letter C over here, every time I make a new C moving out away from the moon, I'm going to make it just a little bit darker. And how I'm making it darker is just by adding a little bit more pressure. So when I get out to that letter C, I'm getting darker, okay? And you see how I have all of these like white lines in there? So I want to go back and do it again. Start very, very light. So light you can barely see it, okay? And then as I move out, I'm going to get darker, just a little bit more pressure. So the change in color from where the moon is out to that first C should be very gradual. So it doesn't change just all of a sudden. It should be very, very gradual, okay? Now, as I move even further out, I'm going to start to get even darker with a little bit more pressure. Okay, go out a little bit more. And then here's a little trick. Watch this. I'm going to keep these dark lines, but I'm going to start to spread them out and leave some white space. And I'm going to show you why here in just a second. So I'm going to use heavy dark lines, but I'm going to start to leave some white space. Okay. Now I'm going to start to come back in with my darker blue. And you see where I started to leave white space between these dark light blue lines, the lighter blue lines that I used heavier. I am going to start to fill those in. Well, I should start a little bit lighter. Let me move back here. Lightly with my next darker blue color. And then slowly get darker, making those letter C shapes to fill up my night sky as I move out. And actually, I am drawing right over my other blue crayon that I have there. Okay. Now actually, see, I kind of made a mistake here. I did this too dark to start with. So here's another trick. If you make a mistake like that, you can go back the other way and just slowly get lighter. So the idea is closer to the moon, the colors are lighter. Further away from the moon, the colors get darker. But your colors just don't get darker all of a sudden. Your colors get darker and darker and darker as they move away from the moon. So now I'm going to start to spread out my dark colors again. Okay. Spread them out a little bit because I have yet another color that I want to use. But do you notice that the whole time I'm still using that C shape? Okay. Now I'm going to bring in my purple. I'm going to start out lightly. I'm going to go right over the other dark color in that C shape. And then as I move out, I'm going to slowly get darker and darker and darker. Okay. So again, the trick is the closer you get to the moon, it's going to be lighter. The further away you get from the moon, it's going to be darker, okay? So then what you're going to do is you're just going to finish out on this side as well, and you will start very, very light, and then add a little bit darker and a little bit darker until you fill up all of your space, all right? So that is the first part about how we do this winter night sky. And then stay tuned for the next video or the instructions on the next slide for how you can do the silhouette that goes over the top of it. So take your time and make sure you fill in all the white spaces. Use that C shape. And the moon starts out white and just light color, light, 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 and slowly getting darker, 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 darker until you get way out to the edge. Fill up your whole night sky. And then we will work on the silhouette. Thanks for joining me.